All right, here we go. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Revolutionary Podcast. You all know who I am by now, and it's time to continue digging into a lot that you're not hearing, that's not popular. And I guess the first thing I'm gonna probably do is I'm gonna admit this off the top. I think that if you grow up in a terrible situation, terrible parents, terrible family members, and an urban or less than desirable atmosphere, it's pretty easy to say that you don't have hope, right? That you're doomed from the start. It's pretty easy to say that this world is giving you a shitty hand, and it's understandable how you can find yourself looking for alternative ways to lead a life or a successful one at that. Um, the one thing I will say is coming from two heroin addict parents, coming from the south side of Chicago, coming from the issues that have been placed upon me growing up, I never saw the illegal means around me as a way out of the poverty that I had to endure growing up. And I guess this is where this is going, because I had a conversation and it annoyed me enough for me to come here and have this talk, because I was down in Denver some months ago, and I saw a guy, obvious hustler, and we had a conversation. And long story short, I asked him, like, man, why are you doing this? Like, what are you trying to get out of this? And his response to me was that he basically told me that he's trying to live a life like Scarface. To which I replied, do you know how that movie ended? And he couldn't really come back with an answer. But coming from like my family, coming from who like all of the people I knew growing up that was out in the streets hustling, I found this to be stupid. I can't really I can't really put another definition into that. I found it to be ridiculous. And the reason I'm calling it ridiculous is for quite a few reasons. Well, the reasons I'm calling it ridiculous is quite numerous. The first one and most important one is you're selling drugs, weed, coke, heroin, crack, whatever you feel like doing. More rural areas, meth. You're selling these drugs, right? And you're selling them to your own people. Which, what good is that? Where do you get off in thinking that you selling drugs to your next door neighbor or your sisters and brothers out in the street actually benefits anyone as a whole? At what point did you decide that, man, if this pregnant chick smokes this crack rock, like, you community of benefit? I know some of you assholes don't care, and I get it, and that's fine. Again, we'll see who lasts longer on this planet between you or I. And you look back and you see the lack of education You see the terrible conditions that our places are in, our homes are in, our apartments are in. You see the terrible situations that mothers are in, fathers, children are in. And instead of taking all of that energy towards something positive, you're out in the street wasting it, killing your own people, and continuing the cycle that got us here in the first place. See, I don't believe in this bullshit about the some government conspiracy, or I don't believe in this trash about Jim Crow and systemic oppression. See, as I do agree that did happen at some point, the only reason that we're failing to advance is just because we keep waiting on a handout or somebody to fix it for us instead of fixing it ourselves. And when we talk about the ability to fix it ourselves, you selling drugs to your brothers and sisters, it ain't helping. It never did and it never will. How you think that that's a solution is beyond me. But it does no good for anyone. Second, it's just selling these drugs and you're out hustling in the streets and you're handing crack to your brothers and sisters, and you handing weed and you handing coke to your brothers and sisters. Another issue that you're failing to realize is that somebody else is watching that exact same block as you're watching. So eventually there's going to be a conflict. That conflict is going to result in one of you dying. And once that happens, hell, what else can you do? See, you're going to beef with somebody else over a block for whatever enterprise, and you're going to kill your own. Depending if they got children, leaves them fatherless, with no money, growing up in the same situation that you grew up in. And you're okay with this. So I got two petty motherfuckers squabbling over nothing. Because as soon as they kill you and take that block, someone's going to eventually kill them and take that block. And then it's just the cycle just continues. You will be replaced at some point or another, and that just won't change. So you go ahead, you sell crack, you sell drugs to your brothers and sisters, you get into a beef with somebody, you get killed, and for what? Which brings me to the second to biggest problem with this. For what? How much money did you make? Couple hundred? Couple thousand? Tens of thousands? Congratulations. Now what are you doing with that money? With the new SEC, with the new rules around you, what you go put it in? Where you go spend this money? Oh, I know what you're gonna do. You're gonna go buy chains, cars, rims, sound systems, TVs in this trash apartment you have, in this trash neighborhood that you live in. And you're gonna blow all of that money you just made from selling to your own brothers and sisters and killing one another for it. You're gonna blow it, so you gotta get back in the street and go back to hustling. That seems ridiculous. At least if you're going to go through all that ass pain and that effort, you might as well put it to something good. Might as well. Very end, save up for yourself. I see all these cats in these, I think Vice has this Snapchat story. It's called like Hood Times or Articles or something like that. And that was one specifically about New York. And I'm looking at these cats. I think it was in Harlem. And at the end of it, these guys and girls are going around talking about, what type of block it is, what type of power they got, And at the end of this whole little snippet, after I watched this life draining story, there was this chick flashing, I don't know, maybe $4,000 total, and talking about this ain't even half of it. $8,000. How much did you have to work to get $8,000? What did you have to do to get $8,000? How many bullets did you have to duck to get about $8,000? How many cops are you ducking to get about $8,000? So you guys are so short-sighted that you can't even see the longevity of the enterprise you're working for. It will outlast you. I think all drugs should be legal, not for the fact that I think it'll take away from the cartels. It'll stop you stupid bastards from selling it to one another, and then at least allow you guys to put your energy towards something else. Because you're working hard for pennies. You're killing your own people for pennies. All that energy that you're spending out on them blocks could be used for something else. And I know every news entity and every politician wants to tell you that it's somebody else's fault, that it's Jim Crow, that it's systemic oppression. It's not. It's you. At the end of the day, you wake up, you look yourself in the mirror, and you're okay with the life you live. And if you're not, you should change it. There's no such thing as I can't. Yeah, McDonald's will not pay you enough to find a livable wage, but you know what you need? You need goddamn skill to go do something. To go make something of your life. You gotta go to college. Hell, I ain't go to college. But you can at least do something with your life. But in all of this, running around, selling drugs to your own people, killing your own brothers and sisters for a couple $1,000s. And the craziest thing about this is none of it really belongs to you. None of it. None of it. You don't own poppy fields. You don't own coca plantations. You don't own any of this. Yet you're so willing to throw your life away, the life of your brothers and sisters away, for something that's not even yours. Your enterprise is ran by the same government designed to lock you up. Why do you think coke snorters get 3 months and crack smokers get 3 years? Do you think that very same government has not been watching every move that's been made as far as drugs entering this country? There was an article on Mercury News a while ago, back in the 90s, and it was detailing the various activities that the United States government had been involved in with the drug trade and allowing drugs into this country in order to fuel their ongoing wars outside of America, down in Central and Southern America. So they sit back, they look the other way when they want to take over a regime or practice taking over regimes. They look over the way as a huge influx of drugs get brought into this country. And who's selling it? You idiots. Because you're the only ones dumb enough to throw your lives away for a product that doesn't belong to you. No one finds that to be weird? You don't find that to be a problem? The news article I'm gonna put up on this in the comment section of this video, and I highly advise you all read it. They've gotten so bold. Hell, they made a movie not so long ago with Tom Cruise called American Made. And that shows you it just shows you what they've been doing and allowing to get done. And what they do is they basically look the other way, allow drugs to get pushed into this country, allow you to sell it and arrest you for the exact same thing that they need to profit off of. And they're okay with that because they know as soon as you go to jail, then somebody else is gonna take your step. As long as you stay on welfare, you're gonna forget the long game, and all you're gonna know is instant gratification because that's what welfare is. Then the more you go to jail, the more you get out of jail, the less opportunity you have to actually make something in your life. So the more susceptible you are to going back out in the street. If Rick Ross, not the rapper, Ricky Ross, Freeway Ricky Ross, if he proved anything, it was once you get locked up, you ain't got no choice but to go back. So here's a cycle you've all set yourself in. You selling it to your own brothers and sisters, contributing to the demise of your own neighborhoods. You're killing one another for these enterprises that really don't matter. You are killing each other and selling it for an enterprise that doesn't matter due to the fact that you will never make enough money to live and walk away. And you're doing it all for an entity that wants to see you dead and locked up. Shit. How we get here? How do we manage to pull this off? How did this happen? See, I think it's because half of you don't want to know the truth and the other half refuses to believe it. This is your matrix. And most will fight to keep it as is, even if it's not the most desirable. You're better than that. You have to be, or at least have to try. There's nothing bigger. There's nothing worse than finding out you've spent your entire life on something minute and meaningless. This government doesn't give a rat fuck about you. And you do their work on a more than consistent basis. At what point, after getting locked up, after selling these drugs, after killing each other and getting killed, killing children, will you all realize that it is no one else's fault but yours? The ones committing the crime and the bystanders ridiculous enough to allow it to happen. Along with this, I hate to leave it on bad notes, but I have to bring these situations out because if I don't, no one else will. No one's telling you to get up off your ass and go do something. Every time I turn around and look into the news, they're telling us how it's not our fault, how somebody else has done this, how someone else has disadvantaged us. Listen, man, I agree it has happened, but you ain't no slave. There ain't been no slave in this country for 3-4 generations. The rules of Jim Crow only happened and were established and were allowed to prevail for the fact that we just continue to be okay with that. And that's something we've done our entire lives. Just allow this world to dictate, allow this country to dictate how we should act, how we should live, and we just abide by it without question. You want to riot something? You want to protest something? Protest your brothers and sisters getting killed every day. Protest these moronic drug dealers running around handing out crack and smack to 12, 14-year-olds. That's what should be protested. Because it's not the cops killing us that's the problem. It's us killing one another. And I preach about this time and time and time again. This won't work. This status quo of us doing the dirty work of those who despise us, it can't work if we want to be independent. It cannot work if you want to make something of your life. I get it. Drugs seem cool. It seems like the thing to do. You feel like you've been disadvantaged. You sucked at school. You feel like you can't do anything. Go join a union. Go learn a trade. Go do something. Because the only ones living to see retirement are the ones who have a long goal in mind. Everyone knows how this drug game ends. It ends with you dying or going to jail. I've never heard of a successful retired drug dealer unless they were working with the government. Never heard it. So what do you want to do? Do you want to continue to just sit back and let the government take what's yours and continue to blame other people while you're running around and turning a blind eye to these cats that's specifically ruining your neighborhoods? How many more have to die? From overdoses, from gang killings. And if you feel like if you're in the streets and you think you have to be a hustler, you don't. I get it. Every time we look at a movie or something, that seems to be our identity. Your identity was not a drug dealer. Your identity is not a gangbanger. You might want to skip slavery and go back further to the Yoruba tribes in the Ile-Ife over in Africa and Nigeria and Togo and Benin. This is a zero-sum game. How many funerals are you going to have to go to? How many deaths do you have to witness or be a part of before you realize that no one wins out of this? The world sits back and laughs at us as we continue to destroy one another, and this is one of the main reasons why. You've got to wake up. Because if you don't wake up and make something of your life, the next funeral might be yours. So I implore you, I have a bunch of links to this video of places you can go, things you can do, ways that you can actually break a part of this life and actually start making something of yourself. Anybody I know, quite a few contractors with the unions. More than happy to help. But at the very end of the day, no matter how much this is available, you got to do it yourself. So there's your question. Are you going to live as a real free man or woman? Or are you just going to continue to work and die as a slave? That's all I got for this one. Wish you all the best. Thanks for listening to this podcast. Take care.